safety. We are now going to go to the actual operation, and we'll show how the board, how Tessa actually puts the board through the saw and makes a rip cut number 1 and a cross cut number 2. Okay, some of the safe ripping procedures are you wear non-slip footwear, which is perfect. We have some good shoes on, so we'll be able to go right through this process. Okay, maintain the rip fence parallel to the blade of the stock. So we kind of talked about that last time, where we, when we unlock the fence, it kind of tends to put it at an angle, and when we lock it back down, it'll flip it back in place. So you always want to double measure anytime you go to make a rip cut on the fence. Keep the blade sharp. So we just want to make sure there's no teeth that are damaged on the blade, because we want to make a nice clean cut. Release the work only when it has been pushed completely through. So what Tessa's going to do is she's going to turn the saw on. She's going to push this board on a rip cut all the way through, and I'm going to stand back here and be the catch man. Okay, she's going to make sure that she pushes the board all the way through the blade, okay, and making sure it's in my hands before she goes and lets go of it. Alright? In order to do that, again, we want to make sure we're not crossing our arms over the blade. We're at least 4 inches away, because we have a safety margin of 4 inches. If not, we use push sticks, okay? But in this case, she's far enough away so we'll be able to make that cut no problem. Alright, I think there's a couple more here. When the width of the rip is 6 inches or wider, use your right hand to feed the workpiece until it is clear of the table. So again, she's right-handed, so she's going to hold the front of the board. You can bring the camera in a little bit. She's going to hold the front of the board with her left hand, okay, making sure it stays against the fence as we go through. And then her right hand is going to push at the back, pushing the board all the way through. Alright? Good. When the width of the rip is less than 2 inches, we use push sticks. And when the width of the rip is 2 to 6 inches, use the push sticks to feed it through, so perfect. And we show a nice picture of the table saw blades, alright? Again, we use one blade for every cut we make, so it's not a big issue with different blades, but on the PowerPoint it's nice that we show a few different blades and we understand there is some, okay? And we should be done. Alright, so Tess is going to come up here. She has already preset the fence to make a small little rip cut off this board. Okay, you guys want to come up just a little bit closer? Why don't you come around the back side? I just want to step on the paint back here. There we go. Just stand right over here so you can see this come through. Alright? Okay, now as this comes through, I'm going to be the catch man, so I'll always have a catch guy here at the back, okay, to help bring the board through. Once the catch man has his hand on the board, he can help keep the stock against the fence along with the person making the cut also. Okay, you know her, you're going to notice her body language when she's cutting is going to be off to the right hand side of the fence as she's pushing the board through. Just in case there is a kickback, it doesn't come back and hit her. Alright, and we'll just push this board right through. Alright, go ahead. Remember, she bends down at the knees to turn it on. Show you what happens here. Alright? As we made this cut, as soon as the blade stops, you see where the scrap piece of lumber is laying? Okay, it's laying right in here. Now, luckily it got pinched in between our anti-kickback paws and the actual fence itself, but in some cases it can be laying in there loose. And if she's not bending down at her knees to shut this table off, her head goes down in front of it, this could kick out of there and hit her. Okay? So that's why she does that. She bends down on her knees, she starts the saw, stops the saw, and then this thing hangs out here. We want to make sure then we remove this, right, before we go and make another cut. Okay? Alright, now, next thing we want to do is we want to take the rip fence, which one right here. And we want to make sure this is square because we're just going to make a straight cross cut on this thing. If we wanted to go angled, we'd loosen up this knob here. We could turn it to different angles. We're just going to make a nice straight cut. Okay. Now what Tessa's going to do is she's going to take a smaller board actually here. Alright. She's going to lay this in here, and she wants to hold back with her right hand kind of in the middle, and her left hand's going to thumb. I always put the thumb on the fence and then your fingers up in front. Okay, keeping our 4-inch safety margin. She's then going to push this board all the way through, right? And then I, as the catch man, I'm going to grab the board, and then she's going to slide the miter saw or the miter gauge back in place, and then turn this off. Now for this one, she's cutting to the left-hand side of the blade, so she's going to make sure she stands over here out of the way as she's cutting. Okay, technically, what won't kick back is the board itself. What would kick back is the piece of scrap that's going to come off after she cuts. Okay? Now, we would have a line drawn across this board. So I'd take a square, I'd draw a line, and then I'd take some time to line it up with the saw blade, right? Before I go and make a cut, keeping it held in place. Turn the saw on, cut through, right on the line, done deal. In this case, we're just going to make a rip cut just for the sake of showing it, so we really don't have to draw the line. Alright, we'll just go through and we'll make the cut, and it's a done deal. Now, on beginning people operating the saw, what I like to do, and what I'm going to have you guys do as you make your first cuts on our first project, I'm going to have you take a piece of sandpaper. What you do is you double up a piece of sandpaper. Okay, you slide it down in here. The rough side will be against the miter gauge itself, and the other rough side will be against the board. Okay, and when you pinch it in there, it'll keep it from sliding back and forth. Okay, in this case, Tessa's already had the table saw before, so she's been experienced with this. So I'm not going to have her put the piece of sandpaper in there. But it is a possibility if you're not used to cutting with this saw. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to come back here as the catch man. She's going to go ahead and turn the saw on, kind of stay to the left there, and go ahead and make a cut. The miter gauge back, and we wait for the saw to come to a complete stop. Now, before she leaves the saw, what are we going to do first, Tessa? What's the main thing we're going to do?
My scrap.
Remove your scrap and then do what?
Clean it.
We're going to clean the saw up, but most importantly,
Put the last back down.
put the blade down. Yep. So wheel the blade down. Okay. You see here, good. Okay, so our saw blade's now down below the surface of the saw, so we're safe in case somebody comes up here, and if they were to trip, they wouldn't fall into it and accidentally cut themselves, right? And we want to have the guard in place. And then our table saw safety should be completed at that point, right? Okay, so along with the PowerPoint, the video for the demonstration of the table saw, you want to make sure that you talk to your instructor, go over the safety with your instructor, and then take the written safety test to 100%, and you will be considered a safe table saw operator.